Okay, so right now I want to talk about what I would do if I were to start my business again. Really, recently I've gotten an influx of questions about the most effective, productive ways to start your business without doing all of the steps that are not necessary, and how you can really start, on the ground running and get your foundational pieces going right out of the gate. So you're not wasting time creating things that you don't need. You're not left guessing what kind of like lead magnets to make, etc. So this is what I would do. This is what I would recommend that you do. First of all, obviously, you have to determine what you want to help people with, but down to specifics. So for example, if you want to help somebody after divorce, you need to get very specific. That's a very general topic, right? So you have to get very specific. Do you want to help people after divorce get back on the dating scene and find a new partner that's better aligned with who they are now? Do you want to help people after divorce with juggling co-parenting? Do you want to help people after divorce decide what their purpose is, right? Do you want to help people after divorce, juggle, I don't know, downsizing and moving into a new place on their own? Like there's a lot of different aspects you can cover when you're dealing with people after divorce, for example, right? So in another example, I help entrepreneurs build businesses. Now, that could mean a lot of things, right? There's a lot of different kinds of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of different levels of that. There's a lot of different angles you can take it. So for me specifically, I focus my attention on helping women who are feeling, unfulfilled, frustrated, underappreciated. Usually that comes with being underpaid, short on time, never feel like they have enough time to give to themselves or their family because they're in an fulfilling career. So I help women leave their 9-to-5 job, but not just leave their job for nothing. I help them find their purpose so that they can create a business that creates impact so that they feel fulfilled with what they are doing while replacing their income and being able to go full-time freedom in their own lives, right? So that's how specific you want to get. And one of my mentors says, you want to get so specific that you're like 10% uncomfortable with how specific it is, because it feels like you're really narrowing down the number of people you can help. And to a degree, that is true. Obviously, the more specific you get, like if I'm helping entrepreneurs, there's going to be, if I'm talking to all entrepreneurs, that's a big number. But if I'm talking to just, new and aspiring entrepreneurs who want to leave their 9-to-5 job, I'm speaking to a very specific small niche of people. But the benefit to doing that is when you are speaking to a very small specific niche, yes, it does narrow the number of people you're talking to, but it deepens the way you can talk to them, right? Because you're speaking one language, you're saying one thing, you're driving home one point, right? You're helping them build one thing. So although, yes, it does shrink the pool size of people, it also allows you to serve them so much better, which actually broadens your ability to stand out because you're helping somebody with one specific thing. And you want to be known for helping people with one specific thing. You want to get so specific that if somebody says to you, oh, I'm really struggling with XYZ after my divorce, you want that person to go, oh my God, you have to call this girl I'm following on Instagram. She is amazing. She's the person that I would definitely go to. She shares all of this great information. She really helped me, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So clarify who you help with what, and then why you want to help them with that. Why is it important to you? And generally, this is going to be something that you have struggled with specifically and overcome. Okay. So if you have gotten a divorce, but you have not yet mastered, getting back on your feet in the dating pool, then that's probably not the angle you want to take. Right. But if you have mastered getting your life back together to the point where you actually feel like you're a better person than you were when you were still married, and you've really got things under control and you have a direction and you've regained control of all the things and you've nailed the co-parenting thing and all that, then yeah, that's the direction you want to take, because you can speak from experience and talk about your personal story in a way that inspires your ideal client. Okay. So you're ultimately speaking to a previous version of you. This is why you want to be making sure that you're helping people with something that you've been through, because you can relate better to them as well. Because you can say things like, I know how it feels when you're going through X, because this is how I felt, and this is what I did, and this is how I overcame it, and this is what you can do, right? So get very clear on who you help with what and why. Okay. And also, by working in fulfilling your purpose, it's so much easier to stay committed to the goal and to see it through and to really persevere when it doesn't look like it's working, right? Because I'm not going to lie to you, starting a new business is not like an overnight success thing. Anybody who tells you that is incorrect, you know? And yeah, my business, when I really nailed down to get my business going to the point where I was able to leave my job, that window was only about 4 months. But there was about a year and a half before that I was kind of trying and trial and erroring things and, you know, failing and getting back up. And there was a lot of other things going on, including, you know, I was dedicated to showing up and giving good value in my content. I was going live regularly, things like that. Okay. So it's not just like, yeah, when I buckled down and got clear on, you know, the offer I wanted to create and how I was going to launch it. Yes, that window was only 4 months, but the process was longer than that. Okay. So when you are clear on your why and you're really leaning into that, and of course, being something close and near and dear to your heart is going to be easier to stay focused on your purpose, right? Because you're going to say to people like, everybody deserves, like for me, I think that everybody deserves, if they want to be able to do something with their life that they want to. So many people are stuck in 9-to-5 jobs they hate because they think that that's what they have to do to make their life work. And that's just not the case, right? So I'm very strongly for helping people not only leave their 9-to-5 for their own business, but one that lights them up in a way that working for somebody else never will, because now you're helping people with something that you've overcome, right? So get very clear on who you help with what and why. Okay. Then you want to do market research. You want to figure out what these people, like what they think their problem is, what they think that they want, what they're saying that they need. Because yes, you are the expert and you know what they need. You know the answer is whatever the answer is, right? Because you're the expert in it. But unfortunately, if you try to sell somebody, which sell them into the idea, right? Sell them on the reason that you're the expert. If you try to sell them what you know the answer is, the problem is there's a disconnect because they don't recognize that that's what they need and it's not what they want. And if people are not, they're not going to buy something they don't want. Like people are only ever going to buy things and be sold into the idea of something that they actually want. Right? So even with what I do, right? What I know ultimately they need to live a life of fulfillment and true total freedom is to live a life of purpose. But not everybody is going to look at what I do as something that they want. So that's why I go at the angle of leaving your 9-to-5 job and be your own boss, because that's what they want. They don't necessarily, some do, some definitely do, but not everybody recognizes that they need to really fulfill that feeling of, you know, joy and happiness, like in a true lasting sense, to find their purpose is part of the process. Okay. So you want to get very clear in your own mind about what the quote unquote pain points are. Okay. Because when you can speak to the pain points in a way that you say, hey, like, I know you're struggling with this and I was too, you know, you can relate to it because chances are you had similar pain points. I mean, they may be far and few between by now, but I'm sure you can draw on past experience and remember what it was like. Okay. So you want to speak to not necessarily to their pain points. You definitely, I like to focus more on the empowerment of the possibilities on the other end, but again, from the angle of what they think they want. Right. So if I'm speaking to somebody who wants to leave their 9-to-5 job, you know, to be their own boss, and I'm only speaking to fulfilling your purpose, well, there's a disconnect because the person I'm talking to doesn't necessarily know that they want to find their purpose. They just know that they want to leave their 9-to-5 job. Do you follow me? So that's number 2, is to do the market research to get very clear on how those people, your people, are talking about their quote unquote problems and what's frustrating them. So think about, I mean, obviously you want to do actual market research. You want to be posting questions on Facebook. You want to be going into Facebook groups where the people that you know are your ideal client, or you think your ideal client is hanging out, and either skim through the group or ask questions or something I like to do is I skim through posts and threads that are already going. And if I find one that I feel that I'm in a good position to answer, I'll chime in and leave a really thoughtful response on those posts, because not only it fills my good karma jar, A, B, it helps me position myself as an expert, because what happens a lot of the time is your competition, other people are going to go on that post and they're going to say, oh yeah, I just recorded this, this masterclass, DM me for the link or something. And it's like, well, but I don't necessarily want to be sold to, I just want some help, right? So what I feel is more, it's just a better approach. Good, like I said, it's good karma. It makes you look like the expert. It reignites your own confidence in your ability to help. Plus you actually are putting out, helpful information, not only to the person asking the question, but everybody else who's going to come across that post who may be struggling with the same thing, right? So I leave a very thoughtful, thorough response. And don't ever worry about giving away your best stuff, because working with somebody in close proximity will never be replaced by reading one comment on one post one time, right? It's just, you can't. So you're better off leaving a very thorough, very well thought out, heartfelt response that really does give a solution, some help. And then, like I say, not only will that person be grateful that you gave a thoughtful response, but the other people in the thread or somebody else scrolling through who's looking for, oh, I have a similar question. Like, what was some of the advice that she was given? They're going to find your answer very helpful. I get this a lot. And I have multiple people, reacting to my comment because it was helpful. And then what happens? People are nosy, right? They want to see, oh, who is this girl? How does she know what she's talking about? So then they're going to click on your profile. They're going to go to your profile and they're going to see that you're a coach or you have a course or something in this. And they're going to probably, if you're smart, you'll have your Facebook profile set up for, to position yourself as the expert. You're going to have a professional cover photo. You're going to have a good profile picture of you, looking friendly and, approachable. You're going to have links in your profile. Your pinned post should be something related to your business so that you're positioning yourself as a professional. So that when somebody who is nosy comes to your profile to check you out, they can see very clearly that you are a coach and this is what you help with. And she can self-identify right away with who you say that you help and with what. Okay. So that's the second thing. Do market research. Speak to what your ideal client thinks that they want, and then you deliver them what they need on the other end of that. Okay. Now, the next piece of that is then you want to get very clear on, okay, if this is who I'm talking to and this is what they want, but I know what they need, how can I bridge that gap in my offer, right? And this is when you want to start thinking about what you're going to offer these people. Is it going to be a course? Is it going to be a masterclass? Is it going to be a group coaching program? Is it going to be one-on-one coaching? It really doesn't matter, whatever feels best to you. There's obviously many, many ways to do this. Personally, I started my business with a group coaching program. I had a business coach at the time. She kept pushing me to do one-on-one coaching. And I do see why she was saying that. I definitely agree that that is a good place to start. Not only is it easier to get going because you don't need to have any assets or, I don't mean framework in the sense that you don't need to know what you're walking people through, but you don't need to have like a course platform and all these modules and all this stuff. You just need to know how you're going to help them get from A to B and then how to communicate that clearly to them, right? For a price that they see a lot of value for the dollar in, okay? And plus it allows you to get clear on who you want to help, how you want to help them. It's like a kind of a deeper market research kind of a thing. But when I started my business, I was already working 9 to 5. I, had already gotten an ultimatum from my husband. We were not in the position where I could be like, hey, by the way, I'm going to dedicate more time to my business and hope that it takes off. Like that wasn't gonna work. So I launched a group coaching program. I had already been helping people for free for quite a long time. So I decided to go with group coaching. So that was my own perspective. And now I just want to put a caveat here. You don't need all these platforms and things for a group coaching program either, because when I started, we literally were in a Facebook group where I hosted the program. I had a Zoom account. I think I was still using a free one for the first few months. I streamed the live calls into the Facebook group so that the recordings were there. And then I created extra trainings and whatnot as time went on. And I was answering, you know, I found myself kind of answering the same questions over and over again. That's how I started creating the more static trainings that are in there. After a while, I added in different things like an accountability check-in and so on. But I didn't have a course platform. I did everything for free or very low cost at the very beginning. So don't feel like you need to have all these fancy things. And I did not have a website until well after I had already left my job again. Okay. So don't feel like you need to have all these things in place to be successful, because you don't. All you need to do is know who you're talking to, speak to them clearly and concisely, know how to solve their problem, and offer them a way to do that. Okay. So when you're, like I said, when you're creating your offer, you want to get clear on what they want, how you can help them, how you can transform their lives in whatever way that you do that, given what you know they need. They don't necessarily know that, remember, but you do. So how do you bridge the gap? Okay. And then you decide how you want to launch that thing. Now, the way I launched my business was live launching. I did a 5-day free, you know, I called it a workshop or an event or whatever, and then delivered a lot of value for 5 days relevant to what I was going to be helping with them with inside my group coaching program. And then on, you know, day 3, 4, and 5, I made the offer to come and work with me. Now, I don't necessarily do it that same way anymore. I start talking about the offer right on day 1, because first of all, the most people who are going to attend your free thing are going to be on day 1. So you want to make sure that they understand that there's going to be a way that they can work with you, because if you're doing a good job of communicating with your ideal client, right away, they're going to know that they want more of what you have, especially if you're going to offer them a way to work with you closer throughout the program or the free event. Okay. But you don't have to do it that way. You can do it with lead magnets. You can do it with, you know, Facebook ads. You can do it with, you can write an ebook. You can do a 1-day workshop or a masterclass. There's many ways you can do it. So you also need to decide now, what's the next best thing you can offer them? Now, this is what I want you to really keep in mind. And this is something that I did not do. I mean, I guess I kind of did it, but not as intentionally as I would do it now if I was doing it again. So when you're thinking about how you want to draw people into your world, and you have to create an email list, like you have to, because anything you post on social media, unfortunately, is not actually yours. The only thing you actually own is your email list. Okay, because people have opted to give you their information outside of a social media platform. Okay, so you need to be building an email list. So how do you get people on your email list? Well, you have to offer them something of value that they actually want. So again, focusing on what they want, solving their problem, giving them what they need. So when you're creating the thing that's going to get them on your email list, whether it is a 3 to 5 day event or an ebook or a workbook or a roadmap or a blueprint, like, generally speaking, the things that produce the best results are things that are going to help them move the needle forward, right? So you want to think about this. What can I create for my ideal client that A, addresses and helps them overcome an objection that they're likely to give me, right? So for example, one objection I know that women who are working 9-to-5s and want to start a business will have is that they don't have time, especially if they're moms. Well, I don't have time. Like, when am I going to do that? I already have so much going on. I already have to run errands. When am I going to have time for that? Well, my answer to that then is something I've called the priority planner, which drives home my point that we always have time for the things we prioritize. And then it breaks down how you can actually do that. And one of the tactics, strategies in this priority planner is not only prioritizing your time, but breaking your projects down into tasks, right? One of the reasons we think we don't have enough time is because we're never checking things off our to-do list in a timely fashion. But it's because we're putting in there, like, declutter the kitchen, when it's like, okay, that's actually a project. You want to declutter the spice rack, and then you want to declutter the pots and pans, and then you want to declutter the Tupperware, and then you want to declutter the pantry shelves or whatever, right? The cans. Like, you're breaking it down into tasks, right? And then as you break it down into tasks, you can actually tick things off. So it does feel like you're getting more done. Another thing that I talk about a lot when I'm talking about prioritizing your time is taking inventory of how you're spending your time. Like, how much time, you say you don't have time, but how much time are you spending watching TV, scrolling on social media, sleeping in or staying up late so that you can't get up early? right? When I was starting my business, I was getting up at 4. And what I found, the time you get up is not so much as important as it is the time you go to bed. So it really becomes a matter of setting better boundaries with yourself around how you're going to structure your day so that you're in bed at a time that allows you to get enough sleep for you. Like for me, it was 6.5 hours to get enough sleep for you so that you can get up at 4 and not feel like you've only had a couple of hours of sleep, be productive before you go to work. Okay. So like I say, think about in your case, what's an objection you are likely to get that you can address with some kind of free resource or low cost resource. I mean, whatever you want to do, that your people are going to want, like they recognize that they need help with this, right? But that you can then deliver to them. Not only will it help them get a small win, but it will also help you position yourself as an expert. And when they have this resource, it actually makes your life easier because by the time they convert to a client into your program, they've already been using your free resource. So that part is already done. You don't have to explain that, right? It's already part of it. So another way to look at this is you want to provide them with an unlocking mechanism. Okay. So again, this is basically what I was just talking about to a degree, which is think about what is a process or a strategy or a tool or a process, like whatever your, your niche is. What can you provide your client with or your prospective client with that will unlock their inevitable success in your program, right? So previously for me, I'll give you an example. Previously for me, I have a group coaching high-level mentorship program called Alignment U. Okay. Now it is a very high touch, close proximity, master manifesting, embody your best self, create your best life, full-time freedom, that whole thing. But a lot of what we do is inner work. A lot of what we do is based on having a personal and spiritual routine that you're consistent with. And a lot of it is like really being clear on who your ideal self is and making moves every single day to embody her as best you can. So for me, the unlocking mechanisms are a couple of different programs I have at varying levels, depending on what, where you're at in your journey. One of them is called Consistency Kickstart, where it is a 6-week habit stacking program that I've made it assuming that you need to be consistent with personal development and spiritual development, but you can't seem to be consistent with it. So because I had people coming into my Facebook group saying I struggle with consistency. So that was my answer to that. So it builds on meditation and affirmations and journaling and things like this, some processes that I've created. So that's an unlocking mechanism for my higher group coaching program, because if they already have that mastered and they've already got their routine down, it's much easier for me. It makes my job easier. It makes their life easier if they have that nailed down when they come into my world in the Alignment U program. Plus, the other benefit of that program is by the end of the 6 weeks, the majority of people are like, oh my God, no, I don't want this to end. I need to be in her world more. I want to see where we can keep going with this. So they sign on to my high level program. Another option I have is Be Here Now, which is it is for the entrepreneur who's versed in inner work, but is still not at the level that she wants to be at. So it really pushes you to embody the version of you that you want to be, that inevitable, successful version of yourself now in the present moment, which leads you to enjoying your present moment more, right? So that again is an unlocking mechanism for my high level group coaching program, because when you have that mastered, you are very clear on who you want to be, what you're currently doing that's hindering that progress, and et cetera, and so on. That makes your time in Alignment U much more efficient, much more effective. And it makes my job easier because we've already done a lot of that work already, right? So it unlocks your level of success or your predictable success going forward. Okay. So how can you create that in your programs or your offers for your audience? What is it that you can give them that's going to not only help them now, but make your job easier, because it's like a vital part of the process that you can separate out from your big program, your main high level program, separate out, teach them now. And then by the time they come to work with you, you've already got that sorted, so you can work on the higher level stuff, right? You're not at the beginner level anymore. Now you're moving up because they've already done it. Okay. And so these can also be, like I was saying, components of your paid program that you can pull out and create freebies with, whether that's a checklist or a roadmap or what could that be? Like a blueprint, a framework, a template of some kind, right? That they can use now. It's beneficial to them now. They want it. They recognize that they need this thing, but it also helps them move forward and closer to working with you, all while not making you create extra things that are not necessary, because you are going to use them in your program as well. Like they're beneficial to your program as well. And then you promote that thing and you promote your program, and everything you're talking about is interconnected because you're talking about one thing, right? You're not confusing anybody. It's not like offside when you start offering a program, because you've been leading up to it in all of your content with this free thing, right? And then so you build your email list with this free thing. You nurture your email list with a follow-up sequence, which you create one time, right? And this email sequence, I recommend, includes more value. Maybe it links to relevant videos you've recorded on your Facebook page, or maybe it links to relevant blog posts you've written, or maybe it links to other relevant resources that are helpful, right? That are going to continue to move them through the process, not only of working up to hiring you to work with you in some closer capacity, but also you've been helping them along the way. So they understand that you know what you're talking about because you have been helping them. They've seen the results. Plus, for you, the people who are actually putting in the work are the ones that are going to want to work with you in the long run, right? So it also helps you weed out the clients who ultimately are not going to get the results that you want them to get, because there's nothing worse than wasting time helping somebody who doesn't really want to be helped, or they're more in love with the idea of being helped, right? And then they're not going to get the results that they want. You're not going to get the testimonial that you want because they didn't get the results that they wanted. And it's not that your program is not good, it's just that they were not ready for it. So that's why it's really important to speak very clearly to who you want to help and why, but also to speak to the person who's ready to move, right? The client with high intention, the client who wants the results like yesterday, right? They're ready, they're sick of their own shit and they're ready to make a difference in their own lives or in the lives of whoever else, right? Depending on what it is that you help people with. Okay. So then when you're doing this, you're working backwards always, as I'm sure you can see by now. You're working backwards from the end goal. Who you want to help, why, with what, how, right? What's your method to move them from A to B? Who were you and what did you need and how can you speed up their process, right? Because now you've got the shortcut roadmap. Before you didn't probably have a map. Now you've got a shortcut. So how can you make it very concise, in a number of steps, basically? And then what can you work backwards to create that's going to help that person move through the process a little bit, unlock their inevitable success in your program, position yourself as an expert, give them a tiny win that they want, keeps you also top of mind, right? And all of it makes your job easier in the end, because when they have that process, that roadmap, that checklist, that framework, that template, and they've been using it, you're only building upon that now instead of starting at the beginning. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. If you would like more information on how you can work with me, there is a link below. You can go ahead and click that. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me a direct message on Instagram. My handle is @yourpurposeactivator, which I will also leave below. I thank you so much. Cheers to your inevitable success.